of our better matches of the day. Not the best one, as we got better as the day went along, actually. But one of our better matches. He's playing Sneak and Show. Friedman playing Blue White Red Delver with Young Pyromancer.
And see, that's the funny thing. Before we started, before we got the deck list, I was thinking, you know, what I want to see today. And I'm like, I want to see somebody playing Young Pyromancer. I want to see that card have a breakout weekend. We're going to kick things right off here with Ben Friedman playing 4 copies of Young Pyromancer alongside 4 copies of Delver of Secrets, 3 Geist of St. Traft, and 2 Grim Lavamancer. That there, well, it's a Clark Kent. But,
so that's an altered Delver, which is pretty sweet, actually.
It is an altered Delver of Secrets. I imagine the back is some sort of superhero.
I can only hope. We have a brainstorm here from Bruce Mills on Ben's end step.
Oh, I love Legacy.
Legacy is the best for Red Magic. I don't care what anyone says. It's the best one.
I really can't disagree with you. So as the brainstorm resolves and Bruce decides on his 2 cards to put back here at the end of Ben's turn. Our last Legacy Open a couple weeks ago, was it in Minnesota, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Or was it? Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the Twin Cities.
So the winner was Goblins. Maybe we'll see some Goblin decks today.
I can only hope so. Maybe some Cedric Phillips tokens. You know, whatever happens, happens.
I will not be shocked to see some Storm decks today, the other finalist in that event.
See Mills, after he does resolve his brainstorming, and he's playing Sneak and Show. He's, of course, the combo deck that does cast Show and Tell or Sneak Attack to put in Emrakul or Gristlebrand. He does have 1 Progenitus in his deck this weekend as well, so he's cut 1 Gristlebrand for 1 Progenitus. But other than that, this is a pretty stock Sneak and Show list. He's got his counterspells and Force of Will, a couple of Misdirections and Spell Pierce, and then a bunch of cantrips and Ponder and Brainstorm and a few preordains. And that's just how he's going to get it rocking and rolling. So we've seen this deck for a pretty long time in Legacy, honestly.
So Bruce just plays Scalding Tarn Go. Friedman's play is Underground Sea, swing with unflipped Delver. So Clark Kent in for 1. And there you see Young Pyromancer. Fresh card right out of the latest set. We've got Drew Levin says it completes the cycle, right?
He says it does complete the cycle of best, of 2 drops in Legacy.
Yeah, you have Dark Confidant, you have Tarmogoyf, you have Stoneforge Mystic,
you have Snapcaster Mage.
Snapcaster Mage, and then Young Pyromancer as the completion of the cycle. 2-1 for 2, so average aggressive 2-drop. But whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you put a 1/1 elemental creature onto the battlefield. So that's just tons of card advantage right there if you can capitalize on it. If the Young Pyromancer can stay around, it's going to just get out of hand because there are so many cheap and free spells in this deck that Friedman is piloting here. We've got Gitaxian Probes, we've got Daze that can be free, Force of Will also can be free, and then you've got Spell Pierce, Source of Plowshares, Lightning Bolt, Ponder, Brainstorm.
Yeah. It's got all those spells.
1 mana or 0 mana spells.
Now we have Show and Tell. How about a Daze?
How about it? So
Friedman.
Daze goes on the stack, Elemental into play immediately.
Tonight we are young.
I know the song.
Good for you. Yes!
I've seen that band a couple times.
All right.
We had this conversation on Facebook.
Well, we're on Daze Central here. So, Daze, Force of Will. Does Friedman have another counterspell here to stop this Show and Tell from resolving? Because if it does resolve, it's going to get a little ugly. Mills had a Daze, and now you're going to see a couple elemental tokens come into play here for Friedman, but what ends up mattering here is that Show and Tell resolve.
That's right now about to resolve?
Yeah. And he's going to put a Young Pyromancer into play. I wonder if Bruce has a better card. Oh, he does. Oh, he has a Progenitus.
That looks like a Progenitus.
Yeah, that's a fun Magic card.
And there's another Young Pyromancer. That's exciting.
I don't know if Ben drinks here. Here's a Ponder. So that's actually going to flip Delver and then give him, I think it's Superman on the back.
Yeah, it's Superman on the back. Sweet. Very sweet altar.
It'll actually give him 2 more elemental tokens. So he's going to try to race here, as Ponder's going to give him 2 more elementals. I don't know if he can, because he's got 2 turns, obviously.
Right. The problem is, like, the elementals don't have haste. So now he's got, 9 power worth of attackers this turn. These new elementals are summoning sick.
I think you have to shuffle these counter. He's looking at Spell Pierce, stays in a land. He's got to shuffle that away. He's got to find something like a Lightning Bolt, or there's no way for him to get Progenitus off the board, obviously. But he's got to find a way to try to go about racing this. And I think he's gonna have to just turn all of his guys sideways this turn, which would be the Flip Delver, So that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can attack for 9. Regeneratus blocks the Pyromancer.
Right,
so he
so
gets through for 7, puts him down to 10. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he needs to find a lightning bolt, it looks like, to me.
Yeah, some sort of burn spell to do some work for him before Progenitus takes the other half of his life total.
Yep.
So,
because currently the way the math's going to work out is it'll get across for 7 this turn, put Mills down to 10, but one young Pyromancer will be gone.
Yes.
Then if you count the Progenitus comes in, puts Friedman down to 10, and then he can attack for 3 with the Insectile Aberration, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which would put Mills down to 1, and the Progenitus will finish him off. So he needs to find either some sort of burn spell, or maybe a Swords of Plowshares targeting his own guy, something of that nature.
So he draws for the turn. It is a Geist of St. Traft, I believe. So that's not going to do it. Can't even play that this turn.
But he does have to turn everyone sideways and lose one of these young Pyromancers.
Yeah, so everybody that does that is not summoning sick coming into the red zone here. Bruce, of course, going to block one of the Pyromancers with the Progenitus. Takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, goes to 10.
Bruce is going to draw.
And game's looking great for Bruce, but he still may have some cards he wants to play.
Gitaxian Probe
is a Gitaxian Probe. It is a promo version of Gitaxian Probe.
Let's take a look. Sees a hand of Underground Sea, Geist of St. Traft, Wasteland, and a Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, just lands and Geist of St. Traft. And of course, you see Ben only has 1 land in play, but there was a storm of dazes there that that set Friedman back on his lands.
You see Mills is doing the math there, seeing how much can Ben attack for. Assuming the life totals are correct, it is 20 to 10, and so it's going to be 10 to 10 now, and Friedman can attack him for exactly 9, so it's going to take a Lightning Bolt or a Swords. He draws another Wasteland. And that is going to do it.
So, protection from everything means business.
Protection for everything is the real deal.
Yeah.
Friedman able to get him down to 1, but 1 is not none. So Bruce Mills is going to win game number 1, sneak and show up a game over Blue, White, Red Delver.
Yeah, very important that Bruce paid mana for that probe.
Oh yeah.
Funny thing, you know, your inclination with probe is, oh, it's free, right? You almost think that first and then think, maybe I should pay mana for it. And of course, in that situation, Bruce wisely paid the blue mana.
Probe is pretty nice there too. Like, I'm not entirely sure that there's anything Bruce could do to give some of the situation, because like Force of Will isn't going to get the job done either, because after the attack is going to be at 1, and then if Ben does draw a Lightning Bolt or a Swords, like Force of Will can't counter it because then he would just die.
Right.
I think he was just kind of all in. Have to attack Progenitus. Probe, take a look at your hand. Hope you don't have anything. All right. Hope you don't draw it to kill me, or draw a cantrip to give you another opportunity, and then just get the job done. So kind of cross your fingers approach. Probe. We'll give him a little bit more information when he gets a look at his hand at the end of the game. He does have Geist of St. Traft in his deck, which actually doesn't play a huge role in this matchup. Oddly enough, because it does cost 3 mana.
Right.
And so, you're not really going to have the time as a Delver player to actually tap 3 mana on your own turn to cast a card. We saw what happened when Friedman tapped 2 mana on his own turn, casting a Pyromancer. Show and Tell then came in and resolved. So it's pretty unreasonable to expect that someone can actually tap 3 mana to try to resolve a spell in this matchup.
So sideboards, I see Ben's sideboard. He's got 3 Cabal Therapy. I imagine he brings those in. An additional Force of Will as well. I could also see him maybe even bringing in Flusterstorm here as more counter spells. Just wants to keep those Show and Tells from resolving. And he's got 2 copies of Meddling Mage. Chris Pikula himself in the room playing today.
Yeah.
And here his invitational card featured in the sideboard. I could see him bringing that in, although it kind of shuts down 1/2, right? You say you play Meddling Mage and name a half of the combo. Now they have to have Sneak Attack if you name Show and Tell, or they have to have Show and Tell if you name Sneak Attack. So, I mean, that could work as a temporary measure. What do you think?
I want most of those cards in the deck. I want Cabal Therapy after sideboard. I want the 4th Force of Will if I'm playing against a combo deck. I want the 3 Flusterstorms against I'm playing against the combo deck. You're going to have a counter war like we saw with the Dazes.
Yeah.
So the Storm of Flusterstorm is actually going to end up working likely in your favor. And then I want the 2 Meddling Mages where I'm going to name Show and Tell first. Because Sneak Attack is just slower, it costs more mana, and you can just play a turn 2. You're much more happy tapping out on turn 2 for a Meddling Mage naming Show and Tell than you are tapping out for a young Pyromancer.
Yeah, for sure.
You're just a lot safer.
You just bought yourself a lot of time because your opponent now needs to either fight over the Meddling Mage or find a way to remove the Meddling Mage. And Bruce Mills, what are his answers to a resolved Meddling Mage?
I mean, take a look at his sideboard. He's got 3 Blood Moon, 2 Echoing Truth, 3 Leyline Sanctity, 3 Red Elemental Blast, 2 Stifle, and 2 Through the Breach. Part of the reason that I don't love Meddling Mage as a way to go about fighting these decks is because they have access to Red Elemental Blast, which is a card they're going to have access to anyway, so you're actually turning it on and making Red Blast just better overall in the matchup because you're getting more targets. Now you can hit counter spells, or you can take care of Meddling Mage, since you can destroy permanent. So that's one way to take care of Meddling Mage. Echoing Truth being the other one. I would be a little bit surprised to see him board an Echoing Truth in this matchup because oftentimes when you're playing against this type of strategy, it's not permanent-based hate cards that will be the problem. So I don't know if he's going to board in an Echoing Truth. A lot of people try to board in Blood Moons against these type of decks because you can play a Blood Moon sometimes on turn 1 via Lotus Petal plus a double land, Ancient Tomb, or City of Traders. You know, that's a thing that can happen. When you're on the draw, I don't think it's that likely. You know, in a perfect world, what ends up happening is like you just play Blood Moon on an empty board, and these decks don't have any basics. They can't get it off the table once it's there, so it's thumbs up. But that doesn't actually happen all the time. What typically happens is they play a Blood Moon when the opponent has a Delver of Secrets already in play that's flipped, and you know the opponent can't play any more spells, but they just kind of end up riding their Insectile Aberration to victory. So I actually don't like them boarding in Blood Moon in this matchup. I think he's happy to bring in Red Elemental Blast, maybe some other Echoing Truths, even though I don't love it. I don't love Stifle, I don't love Through the Breach, so I think it should be some minor sideboarding here in this matchup. And, you know, we'll end up seeing how it plays out. I think Ben is the one who actually has to do a heavy amount of sideboarding to get back into this matchup.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, there's quite a few cards he has options to bring in. Chris Pikula, 2-0.
He is. Not sure if he ended up playing Rug Delver or if he managed to find the cards he was looking for what looked to be a lone deck.
Yeah, just taking a look at Twitter here. Of course, if you guys want to interact with us, you can tweet at us at SCGLive or use the hashtag SCGBALT, as you can see down in there in the bottom right of your screen. And we'll take a look at your tweets. We've got Emmett Gore, who has never been excited to watch Legacy coverage. Never been this excited to watch Legacy coverage. I'm pretty excited as well.
I'm excited.
So Ben Friedman here, down a game to Bruce Mills, leads with a Misty Rainforest into an Underground Sea, and a Cabal Therapy to kick things off. So we'll find out what he named. You see Cabal Therapy, that is a promo version, it's what is it, he named Show and Tell. That's the premium series.
So your guess is as good as mine, man.
Yeah, it's like they had that premium series of, I can't even remember what it was called now.
The artwork is sweet.
Yeah, it's sweet artwork. That is not the version that Ben is using. He is using a original Judgment version.
You see, Ben is going to write down the cards here, so Bruce is just going to continue taking his turn. Bruce has a bunch of cantrips in his hand. He's got City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, he's got a Brainstorm, a Ponder, a Spellpierce over there as well, and then obviously a Mystery card. So he's probably going to start things off. He's actually not going to cantrip on turn one. A little bit surprised.
So just a Scalding Tarn from Bruce. Now Ben untaps his Underground Sea. He's going to play another Misty Rainforest here on turn 2.
Good afternoon,
18
guys.
here.
Just wanted to let you know that we have 15
Finds
minutes left
a Tundra.
in registration for this afternoon's Two-Headed Giant Sealed event. If you want to sign up, please come see me up here at the stage.
Now we did call this blue-white-red Delver, but so far the only spelled and cast in the game is a black spell.
Yeah, oddly enough.
So you see he does have access to black with those Underground Seas.
It's funny, that's his only black card
yeah,
too. And
in the sideboard.
Cabal
Therapy, that's it.
But Therapy's kind of cool because of the way that it works with Young Pyromancer. It gives you some fuel. It gives you guys, and it gives you fuel to sacrifice guys for it. So I like that interaction.
There you see the turn 2 Meddling Mage that you were talking about in between games, and we'll find out what he named. I imagine it's Show and Tell. But now see, that is not Meddling Mage. A lot of controversy surrounding that particular version of Meddling Mage.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
But it is the same card, it plays the same way, and was Show and Tell. Oh, we're getting confirmation. What was his name? So Brainstorm from Bruce Mills here. I imagine it's Show and Tell.
I would be surprised if it was not Show and Tell.
Especially considering it's also what he named with Cabal Therapy.
Yeah. I mean, that's step 1 against this deck. You see a Brainstorm here from Mills. That's step 1 against that deck, is to make sure that that spell doesn't resolve. I mean, obviously you can't stop both halves with a Meddling Mage. You know, you try to stop Sneak Attack, you get Show and Tell. You try to stop Show and Tell, you can get Sneak Attack. But Show and Tell's the cheaper of the two, so you just want to stop the cheaper spell because it's easier to fight over the more expensive spell when they're casting Sneak Attack.
So Bruce Mills, mid Brainstorm here, has decided which two he wants to put back. You see he's got a couple of Force of Wills along with a Ponder in hand. Spell Pierce, I think, is in there as well that he is keeping. Brainstorm finishes resolving. He's going to play.
So he's got a Force of Will Meddling Mage. All right.
Yeah. That would make sense why it hasn't been named yet, because it's still on the stack.
And so he decided that this is where he wants to kind of have his fight, is over not letting this card resolve. We'll see if Friedman wants to fight back or not.
So Force of Will removing Spell Pierce. That's 2 counter spells from Bruce's hand.
So Friedman does want to fight back.
Friedman's going to get rid of 2 counter spells of his own. It's Force of Will removing Flusterstorm, targeting Bruce's Force of Will.
So is Bruce gonna fight back? Jeez.
Yeah, this is quite the counter war here on turn 2.
We're battling over a 2/2.
And well, you know, that's how strong Chris Pikula is.
Oh my goodness.
He is a near Hall of Fame player, and the card's pretty good as well. Force of Will removing Ponder, says Bruce Mills, and Meddling Mage finally successfully countered after Bruce spends 4 cards to keep it off the table, and Ben Friedman spends 3 to try to get it on, including the Meddling Mage itself.
I can't say I expected to see that big of a fight over the Meddling Mage, honestly. But that's what ended up happening. Both players casting Force of Wills, both players using a lot of cards over that one disruption spell that can do some attacking, of course.
Yeah, so the interesting thing here to me is that both players used multiple counter spells to remove, you know, like Force of Will removing Flusterstorm for Ben's side. Bruce removes Force of Will removing Spell Pierce, and then a second Force of Will. So that's a lot of counter magic just gone. So another Brainstorm here from Bruce Mills. Quickly decides which he wants to put back. And he has a second copy of Volcanic Island. Passes back. Wasteland from Ben Friedman.
Pretty important. You always like to try to bottleneck this deck's mana if you can. It looks like he's going to cast Geist. Okay.
Geist of St. Traft is the play from Ben Friedman. I wondered if he was considering using the Bruce Mills with all the counter spells. Force of Will removing Echoing Truth to deal with the Geist of St. Traft. I was wondering if Ben was going to try to immediately attack the mana base there, but Geist of St. Traft seems, having that in hand certainly changes the plan.
Of course. Man, if you're Friedman, you have to be a little bit frustrated here. I mean, you're frustrated, but you're happy, right? Like, he's using all of these resources to counter some cards. He has another Wasteland, so I'm just going to fire these off and take care of his entire mana base.
So Wasteland number 2, Armageddon
and Delver.
And then Delver of Secrets.
So now Friedman, I was saying there's a bit of frustration because none of his spells are resolving. As Ancient Tomb comes right off of the top, Delver is going to check. It is going to flip, revealing a Daze. But
Friedman goes to work immediately, Superman, swinging in.
At the same time, it's like, he's using all these resources as well. So, he's just basically out of cards, and I've gotten his lands. Now, Mills has rebuilt with lands again.
Right. He also knows about the Daze because of the Delver, so it's not like Bruce can't play around Daze. So Bruce now down to 10. Flooded Strand off the top for Ben. Now Bruce is going to be hit for 3. Down to 7. It's a 3-turn clock for the moment. Although if Bruce cracks that fetch land, it becomes a 2-turn clock, or if he uses that Ancient Tomb, same thing. So if he cracks the fetch and uses the Ancient Tomb, that's a free Delver hit.
It looks like he's got a Young Pyromancer he's going to play.
And he does. A Young Pyromancer for Ben Friedman. Going to make that clock just a little bit quicker.
So we set the world on fire. We can burn bright. This is the Young Pyromancer anthem.
Oh, is that what it is? I
figured it out. It's We Are Young by Fun.
Yeah, it's nicknamed Nate. Is that what you call it?
I would call it Nate. It looks like a Nate.
Could be a Nate.
So Mills going to go down to 6, get a Volcanic Island after sacrificing that Flooded Strand. This might be a crush your fingers type moment here for Friedman, honestly.
So is Legacy the format for Young Pyromancer?
This is good. We are getting some chemistry here. This is very good, Joey. Let's see what Mills drew there. Is it a show and tell or anything of consequence?
Probably another counterspell, considering the amount of counter. No, see, it looked like a Force of Will. It was actually City of Traders. I just saw that flash of orange. So Bruce Mills has rebuilt his mana base just fine. That's not really the problem here. He's facing down 5 power worth of guys on the other side.
Mills plays a Lotus Petal. And yeah, I had a feeling he was going to do that. So Mills playing a Lotus Petal is actually like pretty bad there because Friedman dazes it.
Right, and
to
then
get an elemental,
and
that's actually 6 points of damage.
Right.
Yeah,
He gives him an opportunity to get another, get an elemental on board,
and actually not have it be a 2-turn game, actually have it be a 1-turn game, which is you're dead the next turn.
Yeah,
which
and
is
he's fine with the Lotus Petal resolving. He just wants to cast the Daze.
Absolutely. So Friedman's going to tie it up now. Off of that was a pretty back and forth game. That game was wacky. All those Force and Wills over Meddling Mage, and then both players basically playing the top of their deck. But Friedman with running Wastelands to absolutely destroy Mills' mana base.
Yeah. He had a second act to get his story straight.
Oh boy.
I don't know how much further I can run with the.
I think you can keep going. I think you can keep going.
Keep going.
I'm not gonna trust me. I'm not gonna stop you.
Yeah, I don't know how many fun lyrics I can remember. I've seen him in concert twice now, but.
Only twice?
Only twice, sorry. I know you just get to hang out with him backstage.
All the time. All the time.
You're big.
They'll be at my wedding and everything. I can't wait.
The Efficient at your wedding, maybe?
I can only hope.
I heard that was something you got to experience lately.
I did. I was officiant at my best friend and my second best friend's wedding. My 2 best friends are married, and I got to be an officiant at that, which was a lot of fun.
I can imagine. That's
it was
a really cool
fun.
situation to be in. Very cool. Well, congratulations to the happy couple.
Yeah, the happiest couple in the land. Stephen Berkowitz and his wife Erica Berkowitz.
Well, congratulations to the Berkowitz.
Stephen played. He played Magic.
I recognize the name.
For a little while. He's from Alaska. He played Magic for a decent amount. Played in a handful of Pro Tours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, now he's an adult with a wife and blech.
What, can't play Magic cards? You give up your Magic cards for a wife?
Yeah, less.
Less, okay, that's fair.
He did go to he qualified for Pro Tour, Avison Store in Barcelona last year. And actually took a trip out there for like a week. We saw like most of Spain, some of Italy, and stuff like that. So he doesn't get to play as much. When he does play, he like wins a pretty large percentage of the time. So the only time I really do get to get the way to get him to play is to cube.
Oh, there you go.
Because he'll never say no to a cube.
That's the weakness of a lot of players.
Yeah, he'll never say no to a cube. And so, as some people know, there's a cube league in Seattle, where we like one of the local players in Seattle organized this gigantic cube league last year. There were, I think, like 12 teams. So it's 36 players, and we just had like a round robin style thing, and then there was a cut to top 4, and then the top 4 teams battled out playoff style. And I was teaming with Steven and Corbett Gray the first season, and then it was Steven and Max McCall the second season. Our team name was McCall Me Maybe.
Love it.
And yeah, really good. And yeah, we made the finals both time. It's like a lot of fun. Like just cubing in like a pretty competitive environment, but having like a system in place with like standings and playoffs, and we had like awards for worst overall record, MVP, best overall record, best person at ruining the person who you're passing to's deck. So like we would keep track of the person who's the person you're passing to. Like if the person you're passing to was often like 1-2 or 0-3, like you'd be rewarded for that. Yeah, it was pretty fun. It's pretty fun. We're actually doing another season of the league. We're getting it set up right now. So long story short, that's how you get Stephen Berkowitz to play Magic.
Bruce Mills, on the other hand, doesn't leave the house unless it's for Magic, according to his little info sheet.
Yeah, I like it.
If you were watching, you could see them both filling out little sheets for us. That's for our information and for yours. We can give you guys the rundown. His hometown, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Arkansas, yes.
Arkansas.
He goes by Moose Brills. That's what his friends call him.
Moose Brills.
Moose Brills.
Moose doesn't leave the house except for Magic.
I like it.
Ben Friedman.
We got he's here. He's from Baltimore. He's a local guy, even though he's wearing a Philadelphia jersey, which I actually question a little bit here. That doesn't
Baltimore doesn't have a basketball team.
But there's nothing to like about the 76ers.
Hey, I don't know.
Actual nothing. They're horribly run team. Only in Joe DiMaestro's heart are his top finishes, and He listened to country music before. Other fun infos. He's listened to country music before. I played White Weenie in Standard yesterday. Hashtag Wesco. So there you go. Been a lot more at home playing the Legacy format. Because a lot of his top finishes have come there.
My first memories of Ben Friedman are playing the Infinite Life deck in Lorwyn Standard, playing like the Martyr of Sands combo in Standard.
Yes. I also gave that a run.
That was that's my first memory of Ben at the local shop Legends in Towson, way back in fall 2007. 6 years ago, gosh.
Yeah, right? Where does the time go? Scalding Tarn getting sacrificed here for Mills. He's going to search out the basic island. Searching out basics, of course, against the Wasteland deck. One of the reasons I do like Sneak and Show is it's able to play a couple basics for its fetch lands, 2 islands and 1 mountain here in Mills' deck list. Let's see what cantrip he wants to start off with. He almost assuredly has one. Unless he has some sort of psycho draw with like double Lotus Petal, Show and Tell. Which I guess isn't out of the question for this deck.
And there's a quick shuffle, a Ponder on turn 1 from Bruce Mills.
And Mills does have 2 Legacy open top eights as well, so pretty proficient in this format.
Yeah, we saw him on camera yesterday, playing in Standard, but this I think is his forte. I think that's the case for a lot of players. That Legacy is like their format, but they play Standard because hey, I want to play Magic tournament. Seems like a good decision.
I mean, not gonna play.
Yeah. So as Bruce ponders his ponder here.
I mean, the ponders in this deck and the brainstorms and stuff like that, those are all paramount in the setting up correctly. This deck, you mess one of those up, it can end up just costing you all by itself.
Decides to draw a volcanic island off of the ponder. You kind of get a quick look at his hand as he flips through it. Friedman now on his first turn plays an Underground Sea.
He's got multiple Cabal Therapies in his hand, I think.
Multiple what?
Cabal Therapies in his hand, looks like.
Surprised he didn't cast anything.
Yeah.
He does have 2 Cabal Therapies in hand. Cabal Therapy very good after you've had a young Pyromancer around for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, it casts you cast the Cabal Therapy with the Pyromancer in play, and you can immediately flash it back with the Elemental. Ponder number 2 from Bruce Mills on turn 2 off of an island. He has played a basic mountain for the turn.
So he's crafting again and trying to get it so that, the opening turns of the game for Sneak and Show is going to be a lot of pondering, a lot of deck manipulation, so that when it is time to do that big turn, be it on turn 4, turn 5, sometimes it'll be on turn 3, depending on how good your ponders and brainstorms have been, that you can actually win the counter war, because once Show and Tell actually resolves, the game is over.
Yeah.
They can't win if the actual Show and Tell resolves for basically any Delver deck. If you put
depends on how you saw him almost race in game 1 after it had resolved. Had Ben had literally like any other creature on board prior to that, he would have won.
Yeah, I mean it's incredibly difficult to win post Show and Tell, and it's quite rare to see something like that happen.
But you pretty much set yourself up to resolve the Show and Tell, and then you're just gotta hope that that's enough.
Yeah,
and usually it is.
Here's a probe.
So Ben says here, want to see my hand? Young Pyromancer, Cabal Therapy, Flusterstorm, and a trio of lands, I believe.
Just a bunch of lands to go
Tundra,
along with those spells.
Scalding Tarn, and whatever that top land is there. It is a Flooded Strand. So Bruce is going to write it down. There you see Gataxian Probe. Standard All-Star from New Phyrexia. Traditionally seen in the Delver decks, and that carries over into Legacy as well.
Yeah. Information is key. Especially when it's free information, you get to draw a card.
So that was, again, that he paid for that with mana.
Yeah.
I believe, actually, no.
That probe he took 2 life from.
He did take 2 life, so he should be at 17, maybe that was. So there we go, he's at 17. So here we see Cabal Therapy number 1 of, well, 4, really. You want to think about it that way. Cabal Therapy from Ben Friedman.
We know there's not going to be any brainstorm response. Obviously, Mills only has a mountain open, so see what Friedman's going to call here, and if Mills wants to fight over any of this. He's pushing a daze back and forth in his hand.
The thing about Cabal Therapy, for those of you who might not know, it is currently on the stack. Ben does not have to name a card until it has resolved.
Correct.
So Ben can't, it's not that Ben has to say, Force of Will or Show and Tell or whatever, and then Bruce decides to counter it. It is up to Bruce to decide to counter it before Ben names a card. And Ben, of course, predictably names Show and Tell.
You see a hand there of Daze, Force of Will, an Emrakul, a Blood Moon, Volcanic Island. So nothing that is, obviously not a Show and Tell game.
Right.
It looks like that Mills is setting up a Blood Moon game plan to just absolutely ruin Ben if he can get it in play. And he's going to protect it with Force of Will and Daze. That's his plan right now.
So interesting spot for Ben here because Bruce can play that Blood Moon on turn 3. And it appears from Ben's hand that it would resolve because he can Flusterstorm, but Bruce can fight to counter the Flusterstorm.
Yeah.
And well, I guess we'll see.
He just drew a Show and Tell too.
Yeah, wow.
Which that draws. He can still lead off with Blood Moon and just get that established so that Ben can't do anything like cantripping around or anything of that nature. I think it's worth it to try to resolve Blood Moon, and even if Ben does have like some
Flusterstorm will work,
cards,
right? Flusterstorm will work here because it's 2 copies, and I believe actually there are multiple counter spells in Bruce's hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he can counter both copies. Is that okay? So if he goes land, Blood Moon, and Ben says, I'm going to Flusterstorm that. That'll be 2 copies of Flusterstorm, right? Because Flusterstorm itself and the 1 storm count, right? Now Bruce has to counter both copies. He's going to have the Force of Will and Daze.
He's going to go for
instead, he's going to go with Show and Tell.
We're going to see a fight for this right now. So.
Yeah, so here we're going to see a fight. We know Ben has Flusterstorm, and Bruce knows he has Flusterstorm.
Yeah.
So Ben has to go ahead and fight over this. So Bruce has perfect information. Yeah, whether it was Blood Moon or Show and Tell, the same situation as I was kind of describing, where Bruce taps out to play a 3-mana spell. But see here he has a Daze for one of the Flusterstorms, and he's going to have to Force of Will the other. So that's what I was talking about. He needed the multiple counter spells or multiple blue spells. According to our quote from the table from Ben, I'm really not happy right now.
Yeah. I wouldn't be either. Because I'm about to be facing down a 15-15, annihilating everything. So.
And Emrakul is the play off of the Show and Tell from Bruce Mills. So Ben Friedman with a free young Pyromancer.
You're right.
That's about all the upside he can.
Tonight we are young.
We are young.
Yeah. So we set the world on fire. Something's gonna get burnt, eaten alive, just burnt into pieces.
I don't know. I think his seat's been taken by some sunglasses. Asking about Scar. I don't even know what that means.
Bruce Mills is going to win this match 2 games to 1. Sneak and Show is going to take down Blue, White, Red Delver as he takes out the Blood Moon. Is going to de-sideboard here, so he moves on to 3-0. Friedman takes his first loss of the tournament, and that is typically a difficult matchup for Blue, Red Delver. It's pretty back and forth, but again, if Show and Tell resolves at any point, the game is essentially over.